Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on React, the JavaScript library that is the absolute powerhouse behind so many apps you probably use every single day.
I mean, think about it. When you're scrolling your Instagram feed or watching Netflix, or even working on a doc in Dropbox, that slick, fast, seamless feeling, a lot of the time, that's React working its magic under the hood. It's become a truly fundamental part of the modern web.
So, you've probably heard these buzzwords, right? Reconciliation, virtual DOM. If they sound kind of like a foreign language, you can relax. You are in exactly the right place because we're about to make all of this super simple. We're going to break it all down, piece by piece. And we're going to start with the single most important idea in the entire React universe. So what is this big idea? Well, it's this. Everything, and I mean everything you see in a React app is built out of something we call a component. The best analogy, honestly, is Lego bricks. Components are just like that. They're these self-contained, totally reusable chunks of your user interface. You can build a button component one time and then use that same button 100 times. It makes building huge, complex apps so much faster and way more organized. And that's where this idea of composition comes in. You build these small, independent Legos and then you compose them together to create your whole application. Now, here's a key thing to get. They don't use plain old HTML. They use this thing called JSX. It looks a lot like HTML, but it's actually JavaScript, which gives it superpowers. But because it's JavaScript, you got to play by its rules, like using class names, since class is a special reserved word. And this is where the real magic happens. See those curly braces? Think of them as a little escape hatch back into the world of JavaScript. You can stick variables, numbers, even function calls right inside them, which is how you make your UI dynamic and responsive to your data.
Okay, so we've got our building blocks, we've got our Legos, but a static pile of bricks isn't all that exciting. So how do we make them come alive? How do we make them interactive?
This is a really important question. I mean, for an app to do anything useful, like counting likes or remembering your name in a form, our components need to have some kind of memory. And in React, that memory has a special name.
That memory is called state. Just think of it as a snapshot of a component's data at any one time. And here is the absolute key. Whenever that state changes, React automatically knows, hey, I need to update the screen. This idea is the engine behind all interactivity in React.
Let's use a super simple example, a like button. When it first loads up on the screen, its internal likes state is set to whatever we want its starting value to be. In this case, 0.
Now, when you click it, we don't just change a variable. We use a special function that React gives us to update the state. That's the signal. It tells React, okay, time to redraw this part of the screen. And just like that, the component re-renders to show the new number. Okay, so if state is the component's internal memory, what if you need to pass it information from the outside, from a parent component? For that, we use props. It's just short for properties. Think of them like instructions you give your Lego brick, telling it what color it should be or what words it should say. You just pass them down just like you would an HTML attribute. So we know that changing state makes React redraw the screen, but what is actually going on under the hood that makes this whole thing so incredibly fast? Let's take a look at how React really thinks.
The secret weapon is something called the virtual DOM. You see, talking to the real browser's document object model, the DOM, is really slow. So React is clever. It keeps a lightweight copy of the DOM in memory, a virtual one, made out of JavaScript. It's way faster to mess around with this copy than to touch the real screen.
And this little diagram shows the whole dance. When state changes, boom, React creates a new virtual DOM. Then it plays a game of spot the difference between the old one and the new one. That's called diffing. It finds exactly what changed, and only then does it go and update that one tiny part of the real screen. This whole process, that's reconciliation, and it's what makes React feel so snappy.
All right, so as your apps get bigger and more complex, you're going to need some more powerful tools in your belt. And luckily, React comes with a whole toolbox for just that. A huge part of that toolbox is something called hooks. These are just special functions that always start with the word use, and they let you hook into powerful React features, like state, right from your components. It keeps your code so much cleaner.
Now, there are a bunch of hooks, but honestly, you're going to find yourself using just 3 of them the vast majority of the time. There's useState, which we've talked about for component memory, useEffect for things like fetching data from a server, and useRef for when you need to talk directly to an element on the screen.
So remember props, passing data down? Well, they're great, but in a really big app, you can hit a snag called prop drilling. This is when you have to pass a piece of data down through like 5, 6, 10 layers of components that don't even need it just to get it to the one at the bottom that does. It gets really messy really fast.
The solution for this is a really elegant idea called context. You can literally think of it as a data teleporter. You put your data in the teleporter at the top of your app, and then any component way down deep in the tree can just reach out and grab it directly. No more tedious passing it down from one component to the next.
Okay, last thing. Let's talk about building apps that are robust. Because let's face it, code is never perfect. Errors are going to happen. So how does React help us deal with them gracefully?
One of the most powerful tools for this is an error boundary. See, without one, a single little JavaScript error in some tiny component can crash your entire app, leaving your user staring at a blank white screen. But if you wrap parts of your app in an error boundary, it'll catch that error and let you show a nice, friendly fallback message instead. It's a lifesaver.
And that really brings us full circle. We started with that core idea of components, the building blocks. We saw how state and props make them dynamic, we peeked behind the curtain at the virtual DOM, and we touched on advanced tools like hooks and context. React really does just give you this incredible set of building blocks.
So, we've demystified the core concepts. You've got the blueprint now. The only real question left is, what awesome things are you going to go out and build with them?